What's the big idea?
Grounded hot plates.
Okay. So we are here. And I was way off when we were counting episodes last week.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Like I said, we were at
30?
episode 30, but I think now we're at...
You should just stop counting.
I should stop counting.
I do, yeah.
I'm going to stop counting.
Just be like, I don't know where we're at.
I'm going to stop counting. I'm going to stop counting on people.
Now this is Potvin's number,
This is what?
Right? Felix Potvin.
Oh, that's such a weird reference. Like,
I'm trying to show
we have a global audience, and you're referring to local sports celebrities.
I'm trying to prove that I'm a sports guy.
You look like you're not really centered in the shot.
Do you want me to move over here a little bit?
Yeah, try that. Yeah, just see that.
Are you recording this?
Of course, we're recording this.
Okay.
We need to. People want to see the behind the scenes stuff. That's good.
Centered.
Speaking of behind the scenes, does anybody notice? You may not have seen them last week, but I don't know if, in case you don't know, Eric and we've received our patents. We've finally patented the game of volleyball. So every time you hit a ball or you play volleyball,
you're hitting us.
We're gonna get a little money. We get like 2 cents a spike, 3 cents a volley,
5 cents a spin serve. So spin serve.
10 cents a pass though, because no pass, no play.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair.
Yeah, so we've patented volleyball. I don't think that's a bad thing if we own it. I don't think it's a conflict of interest.
Nope.
So get out there and play volleyball and help a brother out or sister, or any gender. We don't want to get political. Anyway, today's topic is about we saw a problem. So there's something happening in the world. So when we make a post about coaching problems. And parents like it. A lot of coaches, or not a lot of coaches, but we hear some pushback from some coaches. And so we figured that I think the problem is because I was a coach for a lot of years, and I was defensive of coaching too, and I would hear criticisms of coaching. I think the problem is that good coaches may not know how bad the bad coaches are.
Yeah.
Right? Would you say that's a good summary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we wanted to talk about something else, or we had other ideas to talk about, but we kind of feel like the timing of this is important. And at the same time, we don't want to, I don't know, we don't want to, we're not attacking good coaches. That's not the intention or
attacking anyone.
Or attacking anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We feel like coaches feel like we're maybe anti-coach.
Yeah, that's right. We're not attacking anyone. Yeah.
But they might be coaches that might be feeling threatened. Because I know we have heard privately from good coaches, high-level coaches, who have applauded what we're doing because they think that there is something that we're not, people are not addressing this problem. And a lot of coaches are getting away with coaching for the wrong reasons, little power trippy stuff, worried more about themselves than the players, worried more about their grip on power than the players. So we thought that it would be very useful for us to clearly identify some things that good coaches may not know that happen in the game. Because I have so as a young coach, so as a player, young coach, and now as a parent, my perceptions of coaching on the bigger picture have changed a lot because I've seen now and heard, and also working with coaches, I've just seen some really bad things. And I think a lot of good coaches who work in their own little lane, they get defensive if they see an anti-coaching post without knowing the context. So we're going to go through really specific things that we've heard. I'm going to probably have more than Eric because my kids have now played all the way through club. And I always saw value in not coaching my own kids. I always wanted to be that parent who let my kids do their own thing, and if they love volleyball, it's because of them, not because we're such a volleyball family. Because I played for a lot of years, and then now I've made my living in volleyball in 2 different ways. This is the new one. I had another business for years that my kids grew up in, and so I just wanted them to do their own thing. So I let them have other coaches. The problem was every coach we've encountered across several clubs have been a problem. And again, if people might say that's a red flag on us, we talked about this in the last episode that we've had other good coaches, like in high school coaches who we're not asking for a coach to be amazing. We're asking for a coach to have common sense and understand the role of a coach, a youth coach.
I feel like some of these things that you're going to bring up, like they're almost like, because even a good coach is going to make mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. But some of these things are so bad that I think even if there's a coach who's doing just an okay job, like maybe they weren't a former player or something, they will make mistakes. But some of the things we're going to talk about, it's like not even a mediocre coach would make these mistakes. They're so just grandiose and obscure and like make no sense. Yeah. Or they seem like they are literally made like up. Bullying in a way, or made up, or
bullying. Yeah, that's a good term. It's I think the common thread that I'm seeing, so just maybe kicking things off, the common thread that I saw, so my kids started playing club when they were like 12 or whatever, finished when they were 17, 18, and the common thread was that the coach, and maybe parents can relate to this too out there, but the coach...
Wow, your phone's not off.
Yeah, I know.
We have a rule here?
Yeah, it says here the pizza's ready. No, just kidding. Sorry, let me just silence.
Your Porsche is ready to be picked up.
Yeah, Porsche is apparently going to come on board as a sponsor.
Oh yeah.
So Porsche, if you're listening, you are supposed to sponsor. No, the one thread and parents hearing this, I think one thing that I see is that a strong player on a team. Sometimes coaches need to feel weaker coaches, or like coaches that are in it for power and authority. They like to center out that strong player, not because of their attitude or their work ethic, but because the coach feels threatened by that. So if you're a coach who, again, a strong coach, former player, perhaps for high level coach, or even with just a good mindset, even just a common sense coach, you like seeing strong players. A weak coach, and I've seen this throughout, they tend to center out the strongest player and try to show them that they still have something to teach them.
Dude, this is purely a characteristic of bullying, is it not? Bullies kind of go after, I guess they do go after weaker people, but they also go after people that they're jealous of, and they might be jealous of them because they have traits that are admirable. Yep. Right. And so therefore they'll go after that person and to make them feel smaller. Right. So
100%. Yeah. Like misery loves company. And so you try to bring people down a notch. Yeah. If you see them as, you don't like some weak people don't like confident people. So they try to tear them down. And I see this a lot in the club world where the coach will limit the player's actions. I can't give them bogus instructions so they can't do things. And
I think I've made the mistake when I was a younger coach, being too drawn to the good players, right?
Right.
And I'm giving them too much attention. I was like, wait, what am I doing? Like, I need to make sure.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess and this is a similar thing, but it's in a negative way. It's in I need to make this player believe that I still have something to teach them. Okay. Yeah. So the first time, let's give a
I know more.
So we'll give we'll start with recent ones. So right now, I mean, we did an episode recently. One of our recent episodes was when is it okay to quit? And the reason why that show came up was because this time of year, a lot of parents are, a few months into any club season, a lot of parents are starting to see really negative things. The kids not liking the sport. And in my case, so listen to this. So
why don't we start by saying like thank you to the coaches who maybe weren't former athletes or whatever, who are most coaches most of the way through their seasons right now in club, like who are still coaching and their team is like having a good time and they're growing. Like,
right.
That's amazing. Yeah. That is, you are keeping this, you're preserving the sport. Right?
Yes. Yeah. You're right. We should, because we do spend a lot, sadly humans, we do focus on the negative a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I always used to tell my students was like, if you have like a bunch of nice cars lined up, like Porsches, and and like there's 80 of them and they're gorgeous, and then like one headlight smashed out, all we'll do is go, why is that headlight smashed out? We won't see the 79 other perfect Porsches.
Because it's true, but
focus on the negative.
Because a full season is exhausting. This is you're committing so much of your own time, effort, and like it's stressful, and like these kids are putting their heart into it, and it's an emotional roller coaster. So if you've been there every practice for them and like sticking by your values, like
or flexible, like open and that's the firm and that's the thing. Like, so I don't think we're angering those coaches because they are flexible.
I hope not.
Well, they're open, right? Like that's if what we're saying gets you irate. Like, we hear from these people on social media and email, and some of them are irate at what we're saying because it's cutting to the core. Like if we talk about player development over wins and losses for your own insecure, the coach that wants to win the medal versus make sure all 12 players on their team love volleyball still. That's a problem, right? And so that coach is sort of applauding us, and those are the ones that we're hearing from quietly, I think, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a great X's and O's coach. That's something that we have to be clear about too.
Yeah.
Because if you're open, you will look stuff up.
Yeah.
If you're open, you will ask, right? And you might even ask some of your players who've played a long time. And what that's what.
And you try to fault test it to see, hey, is this legitimate? Like where else do I see this in the world? Is it at this club level or NCAA or pro level or?
Yeah. You look to people who have done more.
Yeah, and there's stages of progression of implementing, the various volleyball systems that have been proven to work and stuff like that. So you can't just, of course, you can't jump from kids who are just playing the sport to like, you're not going to see perfection, obviously.
No, yeah, it's not about seeing it, but it's just about like we're seeing coaches talk about things that have never been talked about anywhere. So I'll give you the recent example because let's get to this because the reality is that like I said, I want good coaches and coaches who are who may be thinking that we're too negative with coaches. We want to tell people what's out there, and I think parents listening to this. So this season, my daughter,
you almost ended up predicting. Maybe the last episode ended up predicting. Like, isn't that kind of weird? We talked about quitting, and then
because
I keep cutting you off.
The
story that happened.
We were going through it though. Like that's why we did it. Because
but then it ends up getting worse as people will hear once I let you tell your story.
So my daughter, so this season we came in it with a great mindset. Coach was very open. Coach even came up to me, asked me advice.
I know this guy. He used to ref me in college.
Yeah, right? Yeah, and he's refed me too. So I think maybe not. But he would come up to me and ask me questions about things, and very supportive. And there were a couple weird things he was doing in terms of like he'd have his left sides were sticking in 5 and his libero was in 6, and so we talked about the pipe and the approach of the left side coming out of 6 is really beneficial, and you think of that player not as a rare bad pass set. You actually incorporate that left side coming down the pipe out of the backcourt middle as a real thing. So he would listen and he was like, okay, cool. And then as the season went on, something happened. So what it is, and this came up in our last episode, the players, so he brought in an assistant coach who wasn't there, who for some reason he's deferring to a lot. And this guy hasn't played. Like he talks like he's played, like he played in high school maybe 40 years ago.
And before this, he had another assistant coach, but who ended up quitting.
He had another assistant coach who he forced out, I would say.
Yeah.
He forced out a female assistant coach
who had her
daughter was the setter. It was very odd how fast they left
and
how fast they were pushed out. And I'm starting to see why a little bit. So bottom line is, he was, my daughter's like leading the team in kills and aces, and don't mean to sound like that parent, but that's
just bragging.
Yeah, sure. Best player
sure.
I've ever seen. No, she has her faults obviously, but anyway, she's a great spin server, and she hits well at a left side for a shorter player. And but she wants to maybe be a libero or something at post.
And she loves the sport,
and she's just addicted to volleyball. She's like unhealthy addiction to volleyball. She loves it. But this year, so last tournament we went to. So what happened a few weeks ago is the coach is starting to sense that the players are understanding that where they're telling them to stand in defensive positioning, the whole team, is bullcrap. Okay, and the reason why is because the coach will say things like, girls don't run quicks much in the middle. Only guys run quicks. That was said to the team.
Oh man.
Yeah. Then so again, coaches out there, I'd like you to, if in the comments, email us if you think that's a true statement.
Right.
He also says that it doesn't matter if you get outside middle blockers. You don't have to if it's too. Don't bother trying to get outside to block to the pins, because women, again, they're not going to be able to get out there. So these are real comments from a real coach who's been in the game for 40 years as a ref, now coaching. Yeah. Okay, so that's what this guy is saying to young girls. So they're already looking at each other like, what the heck is this guy talking about? He also told my daughter at the start,
because they've played on other teams, they've done other training camps, they know like
Yeah.
This is a regression in terms of the sport.
And it makes no sense, and it's sexist, right? Yeah. So he also told my daughter at the start of the year, don't spin serve unless you get your first 2 over. And my daughter's like, well, this is 18U volleyball or 18-year-old volleyball.
Yeah. If
I send over lollipops, they're just going to get smoked out. Yeah. So then she started spin serving right away, and she got like 5 or 6 aces in their first exhibition game. And he was like, and then he shut up about it. But I was like, oh my God. So that was the start of the year. And then he's been saying these sexist things. So then a few weeks ago, the team was like, you're yelling at us for making mistakes and you're putting us in horrible positions. So like they want the outside hitters playing deep corners, and then they want them to get tips. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Deep corners? Like there's a specific perimeter defense that works very well. And it's just, anyway, so that's setting them up for failure, right? And then yelling at them for the consequence. And then so recently, we went to a tournament. My daughter never sits, and I think that's a problem. I think you should mix in all the players a little more. He never sat her. Not last tournament though, because she was sort of part of the group that was questioning, and not rudely either. They were asking like, why? How can we get to this ball? How can we get to this ball? Yeah. And then he punished them by making them run suicides for asking. They were asking,
how do we get the tip when we're sitting back in position 1 and 5? Yes. Like more than halfway back. To get the deep ball, yeah, sure, but then how are we going to get the tip?
And they said, but that was just one issue. That was one issue. So they're also saying, how can we? So their other thing, I don't know if I told you this, but they're telling them to stand narrower legs on serve receive. Like they want them to stand almost with their leg narrower than hip width apart on serve receive, so they can shuffle easier. And they're like, but it's impossible to get the ball outside our body. Like we can't move.
Wow.
So they're telling them that don't be in ready position, don't split hop into ready position and be ready to move. Don't do any
almost
of that.
Be standing.
Feet closer together. So
you can move better laterally.
So you can fall over easily when the ball is outside.
Oh my goodness! And then you have to get okay.
Because they think the ball is lollipop, and all the players are like, we can't. This isn't going to work, and they're punishing them. So they're making them run suicides for asking questions. Why? Because they're the ones who are in the game.
Where are they getting these?
Well, because
from?
they think that lollipop serves are coming over. Again, remember, so if you're sexist, right?
Yeah.
You think that the serves are lollipops. And if you get the coach out there trying that, they'll fall over. And any player knows, right? Anyway, so this is what's happening. And so last tournament, he starts the day by benching my daughter. He didn't play her in the first set. And right away, the whole team checked out because they're like, why is our best player on the bench? Is this because...
Which I can understand. Because
then he told our middle blocker that she's too short to play middle.
Right.
This is 5 months into the season. And he moves her out to left side.
Yeah. Okay?
And she's now
fumbling.
She doesn't know where to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we talked about this. Did we talk about this last episode?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, he calls the timeout and he starts giving her crap for not being in the right position.
She hasn't practiced those rotations.
And my daughter sort of as this, she's just like, kind of, I would say she's kind of a team leader. She said, well, she doesn't know. Politely, she said she's never played the position.
Yeah.
She doesn't know where to stand. And then, that bothers him more.
Oh, yeah.
And then
that would have been a major sting.
So now, and then but after this tournament, so the whole day there were like 5 girls out of 10 that were like wanting to cry or crying. Everybody on the team was thinking, a lot of team was talking about quitting. And then my daughter actually didn't go to the next practice because they were going to have a team meeting and she was really, really frustrated and she was going to quit. And I said, you know what, cool off, whatever. Because they're so irrational, these coaches. Like the more what they'll do is they'll ruin your confidence. Then if you play worse, not that she played well, but that's what they hope to do. They ruin your confidence, hope you play poorly, and then they can justify benching you because they're worried about their power. Weak coaches, bad coaches, and again, good coaches listening, you have to understand this. This is a real thing, and you don't see it. Just like I didn't see it.
You don't even think of doing it.
And just like I didn't see it when I was a young coach.
Yeah.
This is what they do. So they feel the loosening, they identify the players that are the problem. In other words, in their minds, the players that know stuff and are going to expose them to the rest of the team. Okay. Yeah. And then they punish those players. So here's what they did. So this is why my daughter decided to quit.
Still so crazy.
So this is so she goes to practice. They pull her aside and they say, hey, listen, you know how my daughter leading the team in aces by far, brought them back. So one time she served out a third set, 8 straight aces in a row to win a gold medal. Then in the semifinal, they were down 9-14. She spun served them back and they won 16-14.
We showed her how to spin serve.
We showed her how to spin serve. Yeah. And genetics are a thing. But so this is what she did. So she's top player on the team. Her coaches said to her, listen, you're too short to hit outside. We need you to tip more and roll more. Stop swinging so much. She doesn't get blocked at all. She rarely gets blocked. She misses her hits, of course, occasionally, but highest kill percentage on the team by far. And like I said, and then they told her, don't spin serve because we're moving up a division and it's too easy to pass a spin serve. We want you to jump float. Again, so this is what they told her at practice. So she was like, okay, whatever, polite. But she told me afterwards, I have to quit. I can't work with these people.
Yeah, like, okay? How do you...
These are coaches. This is what weak coaches do. This is what so again, if you're a good coach and you would never imagine saying this, these are 17 and 18-year-old girls, get the hell out of their way. They've played more than you probably by this stage. If you don't know the X's and O's, don't hold on tight. That's what good coaches do. So even if you don't know X's and O's, good coaches who don't know X's and O's, stay out of their way, right? But the most dangerous coach in the world is the coach who thinks they know stuff, right? And has been doing it for a very long time. Because they just get entrenched and trapped in a viewpoint, right?
I get so mad hearing this.
And this is just 1 year, okay?
Yeah.
So, that's just one coaching story. I can go back every year of my kids' club and just tell you, again, to reiterate for people listening, we had a great high school coach this year. She got the kids in, mixed them up, let them play aggressive, had consequences for missing practice. Yeah. Everybody was on board. She taught them about loser behavior, winner behavior. She's not a volleyball person, but she knew people and she knew psychology. And this is why I tell parents, you don't need to know X's and O's to tell if your coach is a tyrant.
Yeah.
If your kid loves volleyball and hates it all of a sudden, your coach sucks.
Watching their gameplay, they had cohesion on the court and they looked like they were having fun or a challenge and working together.
Yeah. And they probably underperformed throughout the season, but it wasn't because of the coach. It was because some kids were missing practice and then the coach did the right thing and had some consequences, and the coach was great. So proof that we don't hate coaches. We just want common sense, right? And this is also proof that you don't need to be a real X's and O's person to be a good coach. You just need to understand people and want to build people up and make them better. So if I go back, 1 year, we see coaches who don't hang out with teammate players at all, no social activity at all. There were female coaches the year before, and they would just not look at performance. So they didn't reward players who were performing well in practice, showing up. They weren't punishing players who were remember this, we talked about players who skip warm up all the time, show up late for practice, show up late for tournaments, and all the other players would look at those players and go, why the hell are they getting treated?
Why am I working so hard? Why am I showing up on time? Why am I here for warm up? Why am I
and good coaches, again, might not understand that, because a good coach would be like, oh, you missed something, so there's going to be a consequence for that.
Yeah.
And, the pushback there is that, well, parents will freak out. Well, that's okay. Let that parent freak out. If that parent believes that their kid doesn't deserve a consequence, then that's okay. You don't mind losing that parent, and you don't mind losing that player. But when you reward it, or when you turn a blind eye and you're buddy with that player, and they're not even the best player on the team. Some coaches might say, well, this is a really important match and we got to win it. Mm-hmm. It sucks to say that, I think, because, again, you're overvaluing the win at that stage.
Yeah.
But, at least you can say, but if it's not the best player, it's just someone that you're buddy with, it should be anybody, right? Anybody who that player's skipping or messing up or showing up late, and also had screaming at other teammates on the court. It was awful.
Yeah.
And then she'd shank the next ball, right? It's what are you doing? But so that inconsistency of rules, that was throughout the season. So imagine that, you're sitting there for 7 months, and then the coach is not rewarding hard work, and sometimes too, you know what else is weird? And I think parents can relate to this, and it doesn't have to be even your kid. I've seen this in coaches throughout my club. There's a kid who's really developing and really getting good, but the coach has put that player in a box as their bench player. That's my starter.
Yeah.
And they don't see the progress. I see this all the time.
I've seen that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Where that kid is still on the bench, and you're like, that kid's way better than that kid now.
Yeah.
Or not that they need to be better, but that kid deserves more playing time.
But they're also, they're in that hyper potential state, right? Where they're getting better, and the catalyst could be just putting them on the court, and then all of a sudden they get even better. And how do you not even have the awareness to see that, I guess, right?
Or be aware that a kid needs to maybe get practice at game situations. Right? Like that is performance anxiety is real.
Yeah.
So like, why don't you get them in and make them lose the anxiety? That was one of our early posts. I remember when we were starting, we're like,
it's such a big thing.
Well,
practice reps and like game reps they're different because they have that pressure, right?
Yeah. You're wearing a uniform. There's whistles. There's, it's a different vibe. And you got it. So like, this is my favorite thing when I see coaches like pull players, like 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, even 18-year-olds, pull them out before their serve. Like, stop micromanaging. What do you want that? So like, and this is the other thing a coach has done several, I've seen this throughout my club, my kids club careers, is they frequently take out the kid about to serve. And I'm like, so like, you're just you're killing that kid's confidence. So they're just going to suck more now.
They're using the serving sub.
And all the time. in youth volleyball, it's like again, there is a lack of perspective on the importance of these games.
And again, they're using the serving sub because they see it done at high level or in playoffs. Like, in playoffs, sure, maybe I can see the serving sub, right? Like,
if you're still playing the kids' playoffs.
So, but
I just feel like I've seen good servers. So this year there's a good server on my daughter's team, great server. She was serving lights out for serving, and then all of a sudden the coach just started subbing her out, and then she missed one, and then the coach was like, "You gotta get your serve in," and then the rest of the day, second half of the day, she sucked at serving, and she was afraid to serve. You know what I mean?
Look what you done.
But they don't know, and that's what they love though. They love that. Like, the bad coach actually loves that, because that means that now they can reinforce something, and now they can show people that they're coaching, and now like it's over coaching, right? Like, I need to sub out players, I need to punish them for little mistakes. We talked about the bad thing. So bad coaches, that's another thing they do, is they punish players for mistakes, one or two mistakes right away, and that just makes players more uptight. And they're going to perform worse. I mean, this isn't even controversial. It shouldn't be. If you're a coach who that's just you trying to show that you're a tough coach and that you're a good coach, when really what it shows is that you're just going to make your players terrified of messing up, and they're going to suck more, right? You're not thinking about the player, you're thinking about how you look on the sideline.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite one is the coaching stance in club.
Oh yeah.
Like all those coaches who stand there with their arms crossed straight, and they're just standing like masterminds, like Bill Belichick coaching 14-year-old girls and boys, It's so sickening. It's like, sit down, or the one who they're still telling every kid where to serve behind their clipboard, and I'm like, why don't you teach them to look for stuff? Why don't you teach the kid to look at who the worst passer is? Why don't you teach your team
confidence in them instead of
rather than glory,
saying you need to confirm with me first?
I saw I saw college coaches doing this too. I'm like,
college coaches do it.
Why don't you tell them, teach them where to serve? Because they need to show. You had varsity coaches who put on the show on the sideline, right?
Yeah.
The frauds.
They have to. They need to feel like they're important. Like,
they got to put on a show.
They have to put on a show. Yeah. Have like the blowouts or just like yell or slam their clipboard or whatever. Whereas really had nothing to do with
and the coach was
I had a lot to do with them, actually, because the way we would practice. Sorry, are you done? You're short?
No, there's several more. That was done, that story. But but that coach too, the problem is, like, there might be good coaches who might lose it once in a while, but your coach knew nothing about volleyball and was all poser. That's the thing.
And the serving thing is a really good example, because their perception of how the volleyball serve works, we used to over practice it in practice, right? And then there was overemphasis, over value put on it, which ended up giving us weaker serves, basically, because the emphasis was on like getting the ball over, right? And then you go into a game, and like this actually played me a lot through, because I had a few coaches. It was mostly that one, but it ended up me like I get way too, and I still get way too in my head with my serve, right? And so, but then this happened to the whole team, right? At least some players were able to like just kind of dismiss it and just attack the ball with confidence. But so like it's overemphasized value, and then like those serves got weak, and then we would for sure end up missing some serves. But like he wouldn't get mad at the lollipop that went over, and then we would just get smashed down our throat. Like he didn't acknowledge that at all. Like, oh, you just gave him a lollipop. No. But he would get so mad at like the jump float that goes out the back or something. And it's like, what? I
know. They have that's the thing. The weak coach has no idea that the serve, since side-out volleyball has gone, the serve is an attack designed to put the other team in trouble. Yeah. Weak coaches don't understand this. Like this same coach this year is telling the team to just get it over, serve less aggressively, get it in. They don't understand what's coming back. It's such like again, if you've played high level, then you better get the team in trouble. Like I get pissed off at myself if I crank a spin serve right at a player. 'Cause you're like, right? Like a hard spin serve, even if you crank it, you're like, crap, right? Not in a seam, didn't make that player move and then they pass a dime, and it's true. Yeah. And same with a float. Like if you like hit a great float serve.
Yeah, or it's got that backspin on it where it now becomes easy to pass or whatever.
Yeah, or it's just in their wheelhouse. It didn't go into their chest or didn't make them move short.
Right away. You're like, oh damn,
too easy. Yeah. Yeah, and like these coaches though. Yeah.
Damn. Damn isn't a swear word, is it?
It used to be. Oh. We're living in the past here. So we try not to swear, and Eric has a swearing problem. So
hey man.
Yeah, we're trying to fix it. If anybody has any ideas or shock therapy or something.
Yeah, I think a Porsche would really solve my problems.
An electric Porsche. Shock. That would be a shock. So that's 1 year. So coaches who don't recognize that kids are progressing and that they need to reward that's another bad thing. So some of the worst things I've heard, though, if we were to go back to it again, so my daughter was 14 or 13, and she had a female coach. We were very excited because it was her first female coach. And she told her again, this is after, by the way, teaching the spike approach incorrectly. So she led the whole practice. She's like, okay, if you're right-handed, then your first step is going to be with your right foot. And all the players were like looking at each other. Again, this is like a three-step approach is what she was teaching for people listening and who, they might be thinking of the 4-step approach. But this is a 3-step approach. And she was like, so she got it wrong. And all the players are looking at each other and they're like, shouldn't it be the left if we're right? And then she was like, oh, yeah, that's right. And then she tells, again, after the season starts. So this is a very bizarre story. But I
remember this coach.
Yeah, you remember.
There was a big blowout, right? Like she ended up quitting?
No, we ended up leaving. And then she never coached again after the season. Other players left after we did too. So she forbid again my daughter from spin serve. So my daughter was a spin server. She played beach right up until this time. Easy spin serve, pretty effortless. And she took her aside, and this is where I first saw this insecure coach who felt like the player knew more than her.
So same thing.
Wanted to take her down a notch. She's like, okay, so don't spin serve like in practice or in games. So we went to our first tournament. And my daughter was staying on the ground serving it, and she kept serving it out the back because she was so used to it. She's a strong kid at the time. And so they were playing for 7th and 8th place, right? And I said to her, I'm sure your coach won't care if you spin serve now because you're playing against another team from your own club. 8th, nothing gained.
Go for it.
Nothing gained. I'm sure she wouldn't care. So she goes back to spin serve. And in her toss, the coach stands up and goes, stay on the ground. And my daughter gets the ace. She spins it. Serve ace to the other team, right?
Oh, I would be laughing so hard.
Well, no, but the kicker is yet to come. So she got the ace. Second ball comes back, and again, my daughter's like, okay, I'm sure she won't care now. I got an ace in a competitive match. And then so she goes back to spin serve. Same thing. Stay on the ground. She hit the ball and she missed it like a fraction of barely a half a foot out the back, right? And I was like, what the hell is this about? Oh. And then she was yelling at the wrong players all day. Like, she didn't see the source of problems, right, at all. And so, again, if you don't know, just shut up. But she was punishing the wrong players all day. Like, that's what I can't stand. Like, if you're just...
and this is what we're trying to get to. Like, are we crazy in thinking that this is crazy?
That's not... Because, again. So, again, and for reference, again, my daughter had good form.
And this was when she was like 15U or something, right?
Yeah, maybe 14U.
Yeah, I remember because
she had good form. She knew what to do. It wasn't, but here's the kicker. So we still gave her the benefit of the doubt. So we did ask. So the club vice president asked.
These are good stories.
The club vice director didn't understand it either. He was a friend of mine. So he said, I don't know, Zuby, just maybe ask the coach. And so she had us in. You came with me. We gave a hitting clinic to this team. I
remember this.
And we were teaching don't worry about results. Let's worry about technique. Let's get a good, nice, loose arm swing, and the hits will come. And she was nodding. So I thought, okay, good. She's into process. She doesn't care right now. But then the first tournament, she was screaming at them for every mistake, and then and they were all playing scared all day. But the club director said about the spin serve, well, why don't you ask her why? So I politely, again, after she had a good relationship with me, she had me in to do a clinic with the kids.
Yeah, I remember it flipped quite quickly, right? Like it was friendly and then...
And her,
and then like one email, and then
that was a polite email just saying could we talk after practice for 5 minutes? And again, this is after we gave a free clinic to the team.
Yeah.
And the email was like, let me be perfectly clear. I'll coach this team the way I want. And I was like, no.
I'm just asking a question.
I was just going to, on recommendation of the club director, assistant director, they asked me to just have a quick chat. I wasn't going to tell you how to coach the team. I said, I know this is your team. I just wanted to see what the reasoning was on the spin serve, because maybe you have a great reason. But no, she said she didn't want to manage parents.
So you don't get an answer. You don't get.
She didn't want a discussion. She didn't want anything.
The question why was
she didn't have one. Other than I need to,
Did you foresee that happening? You kind of.
No, I was a little shocked at that. Because this is early club days for us. So this is me finding out that you mean like. So I used to think coaches in club would be good. I thought, because I was a club coach, and see, I used to tell this to students all the time too. Like, if you're really great at something, I told this to you probably too. Right? If you're really good at something, you might not recognize that it's rare. You know what I mean? Because you just live in your little reality, right? And so as a coach that cared about player development, and as a coach that always put the athlete first, and not in a spoiled way, like even putting the athlete first sometimes has consequences, right, for actions.
Yeah.
I always thought that that's what the bulk of coaches were like. And now I'm finding out that, and kind of like as I grew older, I figured all of societies like this, that the very slim minority are at the top, right? And so this coach, so we went back, we didn't quit there. I said to Mina, I said to my daughter, like, just let's see what happens. Let's go to a practice. Let's see what happens. So when we did quit was the next practice, and they were doing a drill on an out-of-system pass that goes to 5, and then like a bad pass.
Oh, yeah.
And then 5 has to set the player in 6, and the 6th player has to attack the ball. But she forbid them from jumping and hitting the ball, the backcourt attack. And she wanted them to put it into 6, which is the backcourt middle position.
So you have to do a standing roll shot.
Standing roll shot over the middle and into 6, where there is most likely someone standing. Okay.
I think there's a case to be made that like hitting a ball while grounded is actually harder, because at least when you're in the air, your hips can do your body can hit the ball, be off balance, and you land, and then but actually standing.
Yeah, again, though, it's low faith in the player, right? It's faith.
Maybe that's too much of a conclusion I'm drawing, but regardless of that, exactly.
Yeah, it's the wrong play. It's the wrong play.
It's the wrong play. Like at a system, you can set the pins, and then high ball.
It's never. But
pipe is still an option depending where the ball is.
She wasn't even telling them to push it out to the pin, right? Yeah. So I was accepting that, okay, let's play it safe, set the player next to me, which is kind of weird. But anyway, so I was accepting that.
Predictable.
But here's where
blockers are condensed.
Here's where we decided to quit, is when Mina, my daughter's turn came up, okay?
She's in 6.
And she's in 6. And then, so she just, the coach didn't really say this until after she went, okay? My daughter jumped up and hit the ball hard to the corner, deep corner, like not diggable.
Yeah.
Right? And she goes, no. We're staying on the ground and we're hitting it to 6. And I'm like, you mean where the player's standing? Like, and so she's like, coaches spend years trying to get players to jump and hit a ball deep into the corner. She's punishing it. So I was like, we're out of here. Like, and I guess sure enough, like I never tell my daughters, that we're leaving.
This is triggering my PTSD, because this is what I had with certain coaches.
Oh, you had the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just tell. I never told my kids to quit. I wait for them to tell me to quit. And because they know the game and they know about winning mentalities versus losing mentalities, and they can spot an insecure person, not just coaches, a mile away. Because we talked about damage, right? Like, not to blame insecure coaches, but there's a lot of layers there, right, of behavior that are making you feel the need to do this. Like, there's a compensating going on for your insecurities and your lack of self-love.
Well, and perhaps this is why we do get flack, is because we're criticizing individuals who have personal things going on. They've got some damage, or I don't know what to call it, like
deep insecurities.
Yeah, like, yeah, I don't want to call it damage or whatever, but yeah, exactly.
Well, we're all damaged, right? A little bit.
Yeah, I think so. And so that's what we're poking at. We're making them think about their insecurities that they're then letting manifest in their coaching.
Yeah.
Right. And that's obviously not good for the sport. That's
a good point, though, Eric, because this means that nobody can criticize us. I like where you're headed with this. So if you criticize us, that means that you're damaged. We're damaged.
Oh, yeah, true. I see what I'm saying.
No. But I know what you mean. No, but there is a sensitivity, right?
Yeah, there is. Because I think that's what is going on, is that in a way, we are pointing out the reflective work that isn't being done,
mm-hmm.
and because it's not being done, it's being let out in practice by an adult towards kids to then make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
Some of this, not all of it. Some of it is just pure incompetence.
Like, we're hitting the same sensitivity as the player who asks the why. Why are we doing this? That coach will lash out.
Yeah.
And we're kind of saying, why are you doing this? And that coach is lashing out. So,
like, if I was asked why, I'd be worried. I would be like, I would be shocked. I'm like, I want you to know why. Like, I would feel like, oh man, I'm not showing this, like, they don't understand what I'm trying to get across to them. And then I would get self-conscious. I'm like, oh, maybe I need to further explain this, or we need to go back and then go to a previous step and then build up from there or something. And then,
yeah, you'd feel like you hadn't done a good job of explaining.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, what I like to do when I am working with young players or working with players, I do like to tell them, now, some people might say this, but here's why that can't work.
Yeah.
At the highest level, or here's the mistake.
And you kind of confirm with everyone. It's like,
yeah, and they understand it, and then we test it out. And so, like, I went in to do a session with my daughter's team this year too, which may have been part of the problem, I think, because we did a great defensive. I told him I was going to do defensive positioning. He was like, "Yeah, go for it." But I think when he came back, he didn't understand the why, really. Like, maybe like he didn't.
Yeah.
And so what happened though, when they were in that practice though, they were on fire. They were digging. We had another team there, and they were digging like crazy, and they were getting the transitions. I talked about serving aggressively in the practice before, and got them really attacking their serve, which is the opposite. So I think what happened there was, like, he may have felt a little bit like, well, they're having fun and getting better. Me, and now in just 2 practices, and but it's true, they were serving more aggressively, and they were attacking the ball, and
of course. So
it's just a weird little, like, I don't want to say the word, but like an insecurity thing where he had to prove that he was,
but like at the same, like, this is another part of the reason why, again, like, why we define quitting and when it is appropriate. If you're just asked to believe something without understanding the fundamental reason as to why, or it's just like, just accept this for the way it is, and then we're going to move on. You're now, whatever
it's dogma.
Yeah. And then you're going to take the next dogma and stack it on top of that one. Right. And you're always going to have this burning question of why, and then the back of your head. And then, so I had this in certain years in my varsity years, and then it's tough because I had to expend mental energy just to, like, compartmentalize this bullcrap and just be like, I'm going to leave it here in my brain, and it's going to, like, annoy me, but I'm just going to, like, hold it there and contain it and try to ignore it, and then move on and keep doing my thing. And it's exhausting, and it's not good for your development as a player.
And especially, like, so at least you were an adult, right? Like,
that's the only way I was able to handle it.
Exactly. And also you were able to,
I could vent to my teammates as well.
But the coach wasn't going to bench
exactly
you, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. These coaches will bench players who ask good questions, not even rudely, like, politely.
Well, and then we get in, and then you get into the sexism thing, and then the age, these girls are 17U.
It's very bizarre. I just think that, like, so good coaches out there listening, like, just understand that these are just a couple examples. So that spin serving one was one, at a younger age, and that not jumping to hit a ball set in the pipe, and don't hit it to the corners, only hit it to the middle. I couldn't believe that this was being said in a volleyball gymnasium.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe I heard the words, "Oh, we're not hitting it to the corners right now."
Yeah.
Said no one ever.
I don't know, watch a tennis match.
Well, not even just watch any volleyball match.
Yeah, you're right.
There are teams that have drills to hit chairs in corners.
Yeah.
Like
those
that's
are the hardest
the dream
things.
of every coach to be like, wow, you really jumped and hit that to the corner.
Yeah.
I want you to hit it to the player standing in the backcourt middle. There's only one. Let's see if we can find them. It's like a game at a fair, right?
Yeah, I love how like these amazing middles playing pro, they can easily bounce the ball straight down. But they, through their reps and their practice, they are taught, and then they get to see the benefit of hitting that back line as a middle, because it's so hard to dig. Like the middle has so many opportunities. Yeah. And the best way to score is in those seams between 6, 1, and 5. Right?
Or if they're keyed in on you, you crank it at the tee.
Yeah, or having the awareness when you're up in the air, seeing where the defenders are, and then just placing it not at them. Right. Yeah. Like, so if there's ever dogma, like again, good coaches, like if you see dogma, or I don't think good coaches, like obviously they're not, we would think they are answering the question as to why. Yeah. Right. Or they're at least
I think
trying to understand when they don't know, when they're curious enough to learn something because they see a weakness and they want to strategize and build it up. So then, they'll go out and they'll do hopefully good research. Yep. Like there's a lot of bad stuff out there, but then they'll implement it and then see if it works and then try to get,
Yeah, and that's the tricky part too, like you said, because I have a feeling that some of these coaches are watching YouTube videos that aren't good, and then they bring that. Like if I watched a video and it arms their misinformation or their lack of knowledge. There's two types of good coaches too, right? There's the coach that has played the game, is knowledgeable, and then also understands where these kids are on that scale of a long career, right? Like, so I have a long career in volleyball. I know when I got better was a lot later than these kids. So you're understanding the process. And then there's the other coach who maybe never played, but is very open to listening to those who have done more. Yeah. Right? Knowledge should always be learned from people above, right? You should always be listening. I don't mean like in seniority. I mean people who have literally done it more. That's where you should get your knowledge. Like even for me, like I'll read books from Coach Karai, I'll read books from great coaches, I'll watch videos from great coaches. And I find though that what happens is it aligns with what I already know as a player, because I never see something that contradicts what I know as a player from a high level coach. That's why they're a high level coach, because they played and they coached and they just know how the game works. Whereas the other way, because anybody can make a YouTube video now, there are some coaches who are watching YouTube videos from people who never played high level, who are just making videos, and because of the way they talk and the words they use, maybe the way they look, people kind of take it in as fact, and I constantly do this a lot. Like I'll watch some stuff and I go, that's garbage. The person has a lot of followers, the person has a lot of things, but that's garbage. That doesn't work, and here's why. So again, if you're open, the bottom line is this. I think the thing that the both types of great coaches have in common is that they care about developing players, and they understand that these players are people, and that you don't want to mess with their self-esteem, right? If you're doing anything, like I said, this coach had 5 players on the bench crying. Not on the bench even. Yeah. Like he does play a lot of people, which is good. Okay. But although there was a player that he just left on the bench all day, again, and he brought her out to the team to set. But anyway, but he brought her out as another setter, and then he didn't play her like the whole tournament. Threw her in for one match.
A lot of pressure to bronze medal day, and then
it's weird things like so he sat his best 2 players for the start of the bronze medal match. And then he pulled out like at 24-22. He throws them in. The 2 best players, takes out these players. So now that player who never played got to play. And she's just wondering like, so was I the reason we were losing this? And then the other thing is like, so you're trying to win now at 24-22? Like,
you're not going to let them experience those end points where you're in the red and like.
Yeah, and just like, what are you doing? Like, so now you want to win, so you put these best. Like, it's weird. Like, it's like either decide that you're gonna, give these kids a chance, or go for the win. Like, it's weird. Anyway, so it was just a weird day and a weird life. So those are 2 different club teams, by the way, just to be clear. So my kids have played for 3 or 4 different clubs in our area, and they've had different coaches.
These are 3 I'm thinking of. Yeah, there was a fourth one.
There were some things that we went to, like tryouts, which were very weird. Like one thing that club coaches, bad coaches do, and bad clubs do. They advertise that they have openings on there at this age group, okay, and then they don't tell you that the team or coach, the top team's already full. They don't. Right. They mix you in. So they started this warm up, and they had all these players there, right? And a lot of good players came because they're like, oh, okay, I have a chance to play on a high level team here. And they just quietly took 12 players out of the gym to the other gym.
Because they already knew who they're going to take.
They already had them picked in their heads and on paper, but they didn't advertise that. And that was just a crappy thing so they could fill up a second team. So like deceptive, this is what clubs do. Jeez, I get this is deceptive.
I don't know if I want to have kids and teach them volleyball. Maybe I'm going to get into
that's actually
I'm going to get into tennis, I think.
You have been getting into tennis.
Yeah.
No, I know, but that's a great point. No, because this is what I said in the last episode too, right? If you're a coach who hasn't put your kids into club volleyball, you have no clue.
Yeah.
Like that's where I woke up. So I was a player.
If you're a coach who has not put your kids
I was a coach. I was a player, and then I was a coach, and I was,
yeah, put them on a team that you're not coaching.
And then once
see what happens.
And I see some former pros that I know, and they are all coaching their kids. They had to. Yeah. They had to, because it's hard to sit by, right? I had a business, like I still like fought the urge to go in and micromanage and control. I don't want to be a control freak, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not. Like I don't.
I'm not.
No.
I'm just kidding.
My mother says that I'm not a control. No, I don't sit around. I don't go talking to coaches. I don't tell them how to coach. I don't do. The only reason I went and asked that coach for a talk was because the assistant director asked me that's the route you should take. Have that direct, and that's good advice. Communication between people. And that's the way I tell parents too, like have a nice conversation. But the only problem, and we talked about this before, is that sometimes when you have those conversations, you know what the reaction is going to be. Yeah. It's going to be a hunkered down defense mechanism approach. Like my kid's going to get benched. Like we know if she goes back there and spin serves.
If you already know that's going to happen, or it does happen, like how is that not a bad sign? Like it's just like it's ironclad, not a good thing.
You can play loose and free, but I'm gonna punish you for
it.
Oh, you can try to play with no fear. You can be a confident player if you want to, but I'm gonna punish you for it.
Kids are so, I'm just again reflecting on how I was as a teenager. Their lives are already so vulnerable and insecure
and restricted,
and there's so many weird things going on, and like you're just gonna like make that worse. Like,
well, the other thing too is like, don't forget these coaches were those weird restricted teenagers just grown up, right? Like we always assume that the adult is not a wounded teen or child inside, right? The adult is just a wounded child that's grown up, right?
I mean, some of it is just pure growth of the brain and stuff and hormone craziness, and then when we get to like 20 plus whatever. For me, it was like 25 or something. Then I
that's what it's supposed to be.
Out.
Now it's older, right?
No, it's like 50. No, I'm just kidding. But
no, but it's true. We talked about this. The insecurity of
even though the hormones balance, there's something in the psychology that's still messed up, and then
it's getting worse.
And it comes through.
It's getting worse. Society's delaying maturity. Adults are more immature than ever before. Because the anger, the insecurities. I think our media, our news, right? We're kind of doing that a lot to people, making them more insecure, more self-loathing, and then that's why everybody's angry all the time, right?
Like
that's why I'm angry.
Maybe
I'm angry as hell.
What's that movie, Idiocracy or whatever?
Yeah, Idiocracy. Yes.
Like the whole premise is that smart people aren't having kids because they're worried about the future and stuff, which is which
maybe makes them stupid by the fact that that's what they feel.
Right.
If they believe the world is that bad, it's because of the media.
Right. That there's already a false premise built in there. But then
but that was before 2020.
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of funny.
2020 changed everything about our perceptions of the reality in the world.
Yeah. But then like opposite of that is you have these like crazy people who are just like having kids like crazy and then making a crazy population. But like part of the reason like why I'm not coaching is that it it is a huge time sink, and there's not much of a reward here where we do it. But like, I'm legit like pretty self-conscious of it. Like it's.
But also, it's because your psychology doesn't need the validation. Don't forget, we talked about this last episode.
Well, right.
A lot of the reason why these coaches go in it is because it's the easiest way to get instant authority. We talked about, you want authority? Then be a teacher, be a cop, be a lawyer. No. That takes years of training.
Yeah, right.
I can just walk into
I'm not worried about that at all. I'm worried about not doing a good job.
I know, but see, that's what I'm saying. So see, your psychological need is not that. So the people that are going into coaching, this is the problem. The bulk, unless they're players who loved coaching. Like I played, so I went into coaching because I wanted to pass it on to the next generation of players. Right? I felt passionate about the sport.
Yeah, and you were a high school teacher as well, which is also
a high school teacher.
Makes it a bit easier to get into coaching as well.
Yeah, I probably would have found my way.
Makes your job more enjoyable. As well, in a way.
Oh, in the school for sure.
Yeah,
in the school, and then I coached outside in rep. Yeah, and then. But I went in still out of a genuine love for the game. Like I loved volleyball. I wanted to pass it on to the next generation. And then, and I'm sure, like, I probably went into teaching for that same young, insecure need to feel authority, of course, right? But
yeah, teachers they do have authority. Right?
Yeah, it's a quick, but you still have to go to university for it. There's a nice little bar right, to get. You have to sort of fight through. Whereas, if I was just an insecure person looking for power, I'm like, police foundations, that's a few years. Judge, lawyer.
There's no restriction to getting into coaching. Well, as long as you're not like a criminal,
exactly.
Whatever.
That's the thing. So it's the easiest path for someone looking for a quick self-esteem boost and authority. They go into youth sports.
I never even thought about it.
They sit at the baseball diamond yelling at little kids.
Never even thought about it.
They sit on the sidelines at volleyball tournaments telling kids what to do so they can win a medal.
We gotta win.
Yeah. And so that's what I think good coaches are having a hard time with some of the stuff we're saying, because they don't know how bad it is. And again, once you're a parent and see kids and the coaches they encounter in the club, that's a great way to see it. Because not only did I see my kids' coaches, but I saw like coaches at tryouts, multiple coaches at big tryouts where they're like giving horrible advice and planning a practice. Like, so I remember one thing, there was a tryout with like 60 kids in it. And the coaches in charge had 2 courts, 60 kids, and they had them play King's Court or Queen's Court, right? And which sounds like a great idea, but they made them play 6-on-6 King's Court, and they played till 6 or 8 points. So there was like 50 kids
sitting off for like 5 minutes
in a tryout. Okay, this is a tryout, and they're sitting. So I'm like, I was like telling my kids, I don't think we should play at this club because that's the worst thing I've ever seen in a gym with that many kids. And they didn't even go like King's Court.
Cold.
Yeah, they didn't go like 3-on-3 for a single point. Get a look at kids, right? See them fast. They decided to go 6-on-6.
Yeah, that 3-on-3.
Several 30 points, like just you gotta see them faster than that. And then my favorite one was like this. We talked about this. This one club wanted to have an edge over the other club, so they brought out this giant serving machine.
Oh yeah.
The small gym,
just showing
firing rockets at kids.
Yeah,
and the balls were not naturally coming. So like, when you're passing as a drill, you're practicing looking at the server.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the fundamental. So coaches who aren't talking about the server's position and the distance from the ball and reading the hand, the angle of the shoulder, angle of the body, you're missing so much. That's why the machine doesn't teach you. And that's why players, they don't know why they shank more with the machine, but they do. Because the machine is not giving you any signs, just wheels spinning.
Unless it keeps blasting the same line, then maybe, but yeah.
But it's still not reading a human, right? Until they bring a machine out in the real game.
I tried hitting the sets out of one of those things. It has like a light on it, and it's like you have to know when to go when the light's blinking. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing.
It's not a good
cue thing.
Yeah,
it's cool, but yeah,
I think the problem is that we underestimate, like when it comes to machinery, people underestimate how much the human brain does.
And there's so much like when the spin server, they throw the ball up. That's when you're in your ready position, and then you do that split hop, right? The machine is just like bam, and you're just like, oh god.
Yeah, there's no cue. Yeah, and the angles can be changed, and almost you don't notice it. There's so much. I think people underestimate, and everybody who talks about AI and everybody who talks about, technology, they really don't they underestimate how many things, like our brains right now when we're talking, there's so many things right now. Like you're reading my face, you're reading, like if I make a certain face and you like might change what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. And we don't even notice these things.
When you fart,
when I fart, I'm farting right now. I've been farting the whole show.
Oh, okay.
That's how good these mics are. So we got this muffler right here.
But no, and you're taking reps away from the
setter,
from
the server. I know. And imagine that's the same. That was the same gym, by the way. That was the gym with
80 serves. That's 80 missed serves that these kids never got to hit.
And
great.
And you have 60 kids in the gym and you want the machine to serve. I couldn't believe it. I was like, but you know what? But you know what's funny? You know what I knew right away? I was like, okay, this guy bringing out this machine.
This guy is cool.
He's trying to impress the parents.
Yeah,
right? He's trying to. He says, "Oh, they don't have this at the rival club." Boom, boom, and he starts machine getting kids. I mean, the kids were covered in blood. I think 4 kids died.
That's like what was it, Billy Madison, where he's throwing the dodgeballs at them?
Exactly.
He's like, bang.
Yeah, it's just like my arms hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, that kid lost their head. Next. Anyway, so that was like another. This is another club coach out there that's more in it to show off the club than actually see what these kids can do. Because why wouldn't you have a bunch of servers?
And I hope someone like finds this funny who has done this, because like maybe
I don't think they will.
Well, but the thing is, like I would love to have like a more open dialogue. So like I don't even like if calling someone a bad coach is like so. It just gets their hair up. Like it would suck to be called a bad coach. I guess
the wording is
right?
bad. Yeah, maybe we should change this. Let's change we'll edit it in later. What do you want to edit in?
Well, I don't know, but like if I was called a bad coach, I'd be like, yeah, it sucks, right? And
yes. That coach.
All I'm going to do is I'm going to think of reasons why I should not listen to you or hate what you're saying. Or
so we should change it. What should we call it instead? Coaches on their way, developing coaches.
Yes. Which is true.
Developing,
well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully true.
60-year-old developing coaches.
Developing. Yeah.
They're just in the learning stage.
Who's seen so much volleyball. Like the fact that this guy was saying to stand in the back corners of 5 and 1 when he has watched
refed volleyball for so long
and seen players tee up.
But see,
and then start from there and then.
I saw another coaching.
I don't know, man.
Here's another coaching story. So this one is a coach who
better late than never, maybe
better late than never, blossoming into coachhood. No, this coach played varsity years ago at a very weak school, so I was a little surprised.
Same guy?
Different guy.
Oh, okay.
Different coach. Yeah, I have tons of stories, and this is something that good coaches don't know. So this guy, he would ask me. So he had a serving setup that was very unique. I called it the geese flying south because he had 5 passers standing in a V.
So like it's not like a W. Reverse the Ducks, the hockey movie.
Yeah, you're ruining my story. Yes.
What was it called? It was
just called the Mighty Ducks.
The Mighty Ducks. Yes. Yeah, there you go. They did the flying V.
Yeah, they did that.
This is the opposite?
Yeah, that was their whole thing. This is the opposite. Yeah, this is an inverted V.
Yeah.
And so what he was and he didn't understand why. So this is not the 5-player W. Not to be confused with that.
Yeah.
Which would have been too juvenile for this level. But this is like 16-year-olds club or something like that, 15-year-old club. So he had them standing in a V. So what that meant was like there was like 4 players standing in a V and then 2 players standing almost side by side on the baseline in 6.
Where's the setter?
I don't even remember. The setter's one.
Wouldn't it just be like 5 in a V and then like 1 at the top?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry. Got it wrong. Yes, 5-player V. My bad. Yeah,
you're making this up.
I'm making this up.
No, I'm kidding.
No, it was a Q actually. No, it was a V. Oh, that sounds political.
Yeah,
Q. Oh. Anyway, no. So sorry. He had 5 passers in a V, and they were constantly getting aced.
At least
in the
he
middle.
Had a setter at the net.
Yeah, no, he did that. Yeah, but so they kept on getting aced, and he asked me afterwards, like, yeah, they keep hesitating after the ball. I said
corners are wide open.
So I said to him, not just corners. It was
the people at the front are like by the net. The only 2 in a decent position are the ones who are halfway back.
Halfway back. Yeah. No, but the problem was those players standing side by side, like so close in 6.
Yeah,
almost,
the lane confusion.
Were like hesitating. So I said to him, I said sometimes less passers or fewer passers is more.
Yeah,
because right now he goes, I don't know, because they can't even get it with 5. Like how are they going to do it with 3? I said to him, or he said to me, and I said, well. 3 is nice because everybody has a lane and there's no confusion. Right now, there's a lot of I got it, you got it. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah. And I said, actually, when I coached the provincial team, we actually had, and now this is pre-side. I should have told him that this is pre-rally point, right? Because I said,
right.
Sometimes we'd have two passers, and it was 18U guys. Okay, these are 18-year-old guys.
Right.
So I said sometimes we had two passers.
Right, and for the reasons in service point is because the serve may not be as aggressive.
Yeah,
it wasn't back then.
Inside out volleyball is very rare to find a full out spin serve. Even the spin serves might have been a little lobby.
Because the only way you can get a point was to first serve,
and there were no let serves back then. So if you couldn't hit the tape. Hit the tape, you'd lose your serve. Yeah. So
let serves. Holy.
Yeah. People forget that if you were a spin server back inside out volleyball, you were a confident spin server because you were going over the net. Eric Sato, shout out, U.S. national team. Yeah. So, but anyway, and John Barrett in Canada.
Yeah.
John Barrett in Canada, inventor of the spin serve. And so anyway. So then I stupidly said, we even had two, but I didn't say it was pre-rally point. So sure enough, later in the season,
oh no,
he changes it. He gets these 16-year-old, 15-year-old girls to go to two passers.
Oh man!
But here's the kicker: he made them stand on the attack line for serve receive.
Because they would have got a decent amount of balls had they not been on the attack line.
Yeah, I would say three. Like these are kids, right?
Yeah,
young, small movements, shorter movements.
Yeah,
but he
and then he works atrociously, and then
he went from 5. He went from 5.
Chevron.
Well, he went from 5 to 2. No, he never went back to reverse chevron. He stayed at 2. Maybe he had a 3, which is fine.
Wait, and this was a former player.
This is a guy. Yeah, he played back at a very bad.
I remember
school.
This coach.
Very bad school.
Yeah,
and he was a setter.
Didn't this guy's daughter play on this team, and he made her cry a lot?
He made his own daughter cry. He screamed at his daughter all the time. Blamed her for things that weren't even her fault, by the way. If there was a bad pass, he would blame her. If there was somebody else going for the ball,
his name started with a P, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah, but. Anyway, so he kept telling them to stay on the. So any coach out there, can you support this theory that your passers on serve receive should stand on the attack line? And my daughter was one of the players who said, I can't stand on the attack line and get the balls over my head. And it also, by the way, if they're rockets, it kind of hurts my face. Pass, I'm taking away my time. So she stood back a foot or two off the attack line, or a few feet back behind the attack line, so she could face pass. His answer to them was, no. You just track the serve. So if it's going over your head, shuffle sideways and catch up to the flying ball. Because again, he's thinking that girls must serve lollipops. These are jump floats flying over their head, and he's wondering why they're not getting back to get the ball. And he doesn't adjust. He never once in that season told them to back up. And I have to sit there and watch this as a former player.
Ball, even at that age, the ball's going to move, 30 kilometers an hour.
Yeah. And
25, I don't know.
Yeah, and for anybody listening who thinks why didn't you coach? Why didn't you coach then? Why didn't you coach? Well, I did ask him, because this was his second year coaching our kids. I said,
I remember you offered,
and he had me come in and do clinics with them too. And then he realized
same thing kind of happened. Yep. Yeah, I remember this.
The thing that happened in the so any coach out there, if you can defend passers standing on the attack line at serve receive, I want to hear from you, because that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And then what happened when I went to do a clinic there? Here's another thing for you coaches out there, if you're not sure who we're talking about,
because I think this is turning into a gossip story time.
It's gossip. No. What it is?
I hope it's not. I always feel bad.
No, it's not. Gossip, it's not gossip. What this is we're trying to show the coaches who are on the fence how bad it is out there, because they don't know. This is informing. We're not naming names. We're not, we're talking to a big world here, right?
Yeah.
But that's the difference between gossip. Gossip is just saying crap about people for the sake of, we're educating people here about what is out there. So this guy, I went in to do a session with the kids on defense, right? And he asked me to come in, so I was like, great. Yeah. So that's good sign. And then at that session, we were working on free ball transition. So I have the ball on my side. There was only 6 or 7 players there that day. So I'm like, okay, free ball. And I noticed the middle stays up at the net. Everybody else backs up. Backcourt players fill their lanes.
Yeah.
And I looked at the middle and I said, oh, no, free ball. You know what? And she goes, and she looks over at the coach. And he goes, yeah, I tell the middle to stay up on free balls. And I'm like, okay, why do you do that? I didn't say it, but I was thinking, so why do you do this thing that nobody in the history of volleyball has ever done? So I felt like saying, but I didn't say that.
Well, even regardless of that, it's just no one in the history. You can just talk about the reasons why.
Exactly.
Right.
I didn't say.
Okay,
I just said, so why do you do it? I didn't say that out loud. And he said, because in case it's a short ball and then that way they can hit it. And I was like, okay. I said, because I mean, here's the problem. If they don't back up, there's a huge gap between the blocker at the net and that player in 6 who's moved up a little bit on a free ball, but there's still a huge gap because this team frequently, that's what they get.
Yeah.
The free balls would drop in on them.
Yep.
And I, never clued in as to why. I didn't know he was teaching them to stay up.
Yeah.
So, and I also said that I said, not aggressive. I said like, so, and if they do back up and the ball's short, they can actually do a spike approach. And
they can pass the ball
actually,
and hit.
Hit that, or not even like if it is that shallow free ball that he's talking about. Again, how often does a free ball just barely come over the net? It's very rare.
Yeah, I mean that's a good like. I know some people who are good at like hiding it, and then they'll just do like they're gonna fake the deep one, or they do a misdirect and they just put it over for sure. Like it can like catch people off guard.
No, but the more often play, like so the.
Oh, I know.
They're gonna bump it over.
Who are super crafty, but like
but this is not a guy. Like don't give this guy credit. Like so, what this is this is a guy. This is a team. Let me tell you, this is a team that would frequently get bump killed. Okay, the other team would bump it over their middle, staying at the net on a free ball, and it would land in the pot because
like
the pot is you're leaving a massive pot, right, for a player to bump it over the middle, drop it in. I know you're trying to be nice, but anyway, so I'm like, oh, okay, so here's another thing. So then I said, okay, so let's play it out. Let's leave the. You're right. I was very positive. I said, okay, so we'll do it the way coach wants. So I'm like, okay, free ball. So I roll the ball over, toss it over, and a player in 5 passes it. And the ball goes into like a 2.5, 2 3/4 towards 3, right? And so I said, I let them run it. I let them run the play out, and I said, okay, did anybody see what happened there? And then the coach spoke up and said, oh, the pass was off a bit. I said, that's not really what I noticed. I said to the middle, I said, why didn't you back up to hit that ball? And she goes, oh, because the setter was behind me.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. So I didn't say it, but I'm like, I was hoping he would see that, if the middle doesn't back up on a free ball, not only can they not pass a ball, but now they're also trapped when the pass comes up. If it's off a fraction of an inch, and they're not ready to hit the ball, even if they were, like the pass comes up pretty fast and they're still back, so there's so many reasons. Yeah. And this guy doubled down on that. And to the point where would you want to tell them what happened, what you saw when you came to the tournament with me?
Well,
do you remember what happened with the middle? We watched the play. We were rolling on the ground laughing in the corner without anybody seeing us.
I remember there was that. I forget. I think I remember her name, but didn't he tell her like
you have to say the names?
No, I wasn't going to say the name, but didn't he do something like he told her she? Oh yeah, I do remember. He told her she should play libero, right?
Okay, that was the same coach.
Yeah.
What was
this is a different?
What was his reason?
I don't even remember why.
Okay. I'll tell you. Well, I'll go back to the play first, and then we'll cover that. So the play happened. We were watching it, and the middle got off the net on a free ball. She passed a dime, setter, and she cranked it. And we were like, oh, that looks so good. Footwork, everything. And he yelled at her after.
For getting off the net.
Yeah, for getting off the net. He said, you got to stay at the net on the free ball. He yelled at her. So coaches, again.
And this was one of the good hitters on the team.
She was a natural middle blocker. She was like a basketball player who came over.
Yeah, that was it.
Great footwork. She looked like a middle. She moved like a middle.
Such a simple play, and it worked perfectly.
And she got off, face past the ball, ran like a meter, a short meter, cranked it. And then all he could do after that play was yell at her because she didn't stay up to block the free ball that would have went over her head and dropped on the ground. So again, good coaches, just so you know, or coaches on the bubble. If you agree with that, then you can get angry. If you disagree, that's what we're seeing here, and that's what parents are seeing everywhere. Okay, they're seeing X's and O's, things that make no sense. They're seeing psychological damage to kids. Okay, like think about this: if your team is crying every year and you're a coach, time to look in the mirror. Time to say, what am I doing that makes kids hate volleyball?
Didn't that player end up not playing the season after?
She wanted to quit. She ended up, no, she did play the season after. She did play the season after, but she was like really down in the dumps.
I remember hearing she might have quit like many times or something.
Well, the thing that that same player came to us later in the tournament and said that she's being made. So I think she was like one of the tallest players on the team.
Yeah.
And do you remember what the coach said? That he was going to make her a libero.
Yeah, I don't remember why though.
Okay,
I was just blown away. I was like, what?
So good coaches, listen up. Good coaches. This coach,
a good passer.
No, even this coach
was it
said
a punishment thing.
This coach said that he wants to try. He's going to make her a libero because as a middle, all she's good at is blocking.
So
the position is called, just for parents listening.
Yeah,
the position is called MB. The official name of a middle in volleyball is MB, and it's called middle blocker.
But she was good at blocking.
All she was good at was blocking. So he thought that that's not good enough. So I'm going to make her a libero because she's only good at blocking. So good coaches, I want you to defend that logic for us.
Oh.
And first of all, it wasn't true. First of all, you don't say that to a 15 or 16-year-old player who's also good. Who's also good. And for me, like again, watching her, she, like I said, natural middle technique, movement along the net, best on the team.
She was athletic, yeah.
Very and she could maybe defend well. I don't think anything.
Okay, so she does the position of middle blocking well. Therefore, I'm going to take you out of that position.
Yeah, because he thinks the middle should be, a dynamite hitter, passer. I don't know. But anyway, she was good at hitting too. She was good at hitting too. It was just a weird
court
thing.
awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, coaches, that's what we're talking about here. Eric, do you have any stories from your days of bad coaches?
Well, did
you already cover them?
We kind of did. It's just like not having real solutions for not being able to answer the question why. Doing repetitive stuff. And you also, like, when you triggered my PTSD when we would have things of like hitting a certain target, right? And having like a setup. And for sure, I get it. Like, but we used to have this one drill, again, in varsity, of just tipping.
When we say varsity, we mean post-secondary. Because some people, high school gets called varsity too, right?
Does it?
Yeah, in the U.S. especially. But
okay. So sorry. Yeah, post-secondary.
Post-secondary volleyball.
This was college specifically.
Supposed to be
the
real deal.
Yeah, like I went back to at this round when I was playing volleyball, I had like left the sport for a while, right? And then I came back. So I was
it's more recent.
Yeah.
Getting to our point about how coaching has gotten worse.
Yes.
Recently.
Yeah. And so we were doing a drill for our left side hitters to tip to the pot because in the division we were playing in, apparently the other teams had major weaknesses of defending the pot.
So don't swing.
Tip
as a drill.
Tip to the pot. And
wow.
Yeah, it was really hard because I was also captain for most of these years.
So how does that practice work? So do the defenders know the tip is coming because everybody's talked about it?
I'm not going to lie, like, because I never was a player who practiced tipping, okay? So, like, there was actually some benefit for me to practice the skill of tipping.
Right.
Because sometimes, like, when I would do it, like, I would tip too high or whatever. And, like,
right. 100%.
It would get dug up or... Yeah. I should have actually practiced that off-speed roll shot. There were some players who did that very well, like a beach shot, right?
Yeah.
Really
some
good
velocity
shots
on it, but still arcing down.
Yeah, but like there was so much focus on placing a ball in, like, specifically like in between, like in the pot, like so so 4 and 1 couldn't get it essentially, right? And for sure, a certain amount of time spent on this, I get it, but when it's like,
and it only works once or twice, by the way.
Yes, exactly. and then, but there was a focus of duration and amount of times of getting the ball there that there was just like, we're spending half an hour doing this. And then, okay, so that was like rough. And then you kill the intensity of practice.
Yeah.
You totally kill it. Like there's got to be a better way to implement something like, again, like I'm not saying there's definitely benefit in the tip and the off-speed shot, but like,
you know what probably would have been smarter, like just off the top of my head just here, like how about a tight set drill, right, where your setters are setting the ball tight.
Right.
And then if the player hits, great. If the player cranks,
right. And so let me follow up with that, is that he then wanted to, right, maybe he was missing things like that, because then we go on to practice things like, abusing the block and stuff, right? But now because they didn't have the awareness, so we would, the ball goes up, but our setters don't have a goal here, so some of the balls would be tight and some of them would be way off. I can't wipe a block if the ball is a meter off, right? And so
you had to keep going.
Yeah, and I
love this.
And I'm like, so I'm trying to do it, and it's just like every repetition is probably making my attack worse, like overall, right?
That's a great thing. I love that when coaches give advice to players, bad coaches, and then they don't understand that the circumstances have changed and that play is no longer feasible.
It was so disconnected with real gameplay. So again, like I give him credit for the idea, but the implementation didn't work. And all of these very specific goal oriented drills that this coach in particular did, there was only a matter of time before everyone checked out mentally.
Yeah, because it's obvious that they're not familiar with how the game works.
Yeah.
At that level.
It was so difficult because the mental battle, it was mental training in all of our own minds is to stay focused when this is just like the worst thing ever. And like,
did you guys have a lot of discussions about it? As a team or no?
Yeah, like for sure in the locker room and stuff and afterwards, but like.
And that team underperformed, eh? That was the team that probably could have done more.
This was the team that we were in a division that we were dominant in, but it was a double division basically. So then East Division meets West. So we we went 18-0, right? Mm-hmm. And then we go to playoffs, and then we get wiped by the West Division because
that coach won Coach of the Year.
Yes, the coach won Coach of the Year for the whole league because his team went 18-0, and it was a coaching miracle or something.
Yeah, and it was like we should explain too. So Eric, you went back to school as an older student. So
a bunch of stars aligned. Yeah, like
and another setter came back to school who was super high.
Who was in his 5th year, had 4 years at a university.
I thought you were gonna say he was in his 50s. No,
he was.
He was almost upper 20s, right?
Yeah, so, no, this was a team of a bunch of vets. Like we were all 24, 25 experienced players, really good athletes.
But the coach won Coach of the Year because of this luck that happened.
Yeah.
And then he starts believing drinking his own Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Well, the athletic director was also just not whatever. I tried to speak to him, and then I realized how futile it was, and then I had regrets because then I exposed myself of showing how much I care, and then I was met with I went and expressed my concern to the director, and then he said, okay, well, we have a survey that you can fill out for how you like feel about your year, and then we'll take it into consideration.
Oh boy. I remember this.
And I was just like, what did I can't believe.
So did you do it?
No,
you didn't fill out the survey.
No, I probably did actually. But then as I'm doing it, I'm like, I'm submitting a survey to show my concern, and then they're going to review this and then do.
But didn't something else happen?
What else happened?
Didn't they show the coach?
Oh yeah, and then for sure. And then the director goes and tells. I don't think he just said, "Hey, like, yeah." He said, "Oh, your captain is like saying you suck." And I was like, "Great." And this was in my first year, or no, my second. So I had still two more years with this team. Yeah, but whatever. At least at that point.
But that's what we're talking about, right? This is why
at least it was out and exposed at that point. And it's funny because the coach the coach never said anything to me. He just pretended like it never happened. And that also showed me their weakness in a way, because he chose not to speak about it. And he just pretended like nothing happened.
Right.
And then if anything, as the years went on, I ended up taking more of a leadership role and like actually leading practice and choosing what drills we do. Like for the first hour, it was always 2 hour practice or 2.5. I basically ran the first hour.
And did that change after he heard?
No, this was after he heard.
No, so maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that was a result of that. Like maybe that was a good sign.
Because after that happened, I ended up having more influence on practice.
Yeah, which is a good thing. So maybe, I mean, it would have been nice if you had a conversation. Would have been nice if you had a conversation.
Because the thing about this coach is I like them as a person.
Yeah, great guy.
Right?
I know him too. Nice guy.
Yeah. And then, and if anything, I ended up defending him a lot of the times because there was a lot of animosity towards him that I ended up absorbing from the other players and just trying to get them to just be like, hey, like, let's just get through this together. Like, I know this is weird and it doesn't make any sense, and like, just whatever, kind of get through it. But we're still going to play our own game when we're on the court.
That's
right.
Huge, and the difference there is that, see, like, you guys were adult men, and we're seeing it with kids. And I think especially females in youth club, they will just get benched.
Oh, for sure. I can't expect any kid 18 and under because I had experienced, we all knew what the game of volleyball looked like. We could self-coach each other.
Yeah, and you can just go out there and do your own thing, and he might not know why it's happening. But the problem is he'll probably think it's because of him. And by the way, we should go back to one other thing too. Right? We just said like we liked him as a person. He was a good guy, right?
Yeah.
But I think that like we always talk about on the show, how you do anything is how you do everything. He was probably only a nice guy to us.
It's true. I don't know
because he knew
because
he knew that we knew more than him about the game.
Right.
He probably wouldn't treat people like I did see that same coach bench players or like have consequences for players. Like
there was other things like that. There was never consequences because the problem is because of things like this and these drills, people were checking out in practice and then they were checking out for the whole season.
Of course.
Right. So they were, practice isn't that important. They would just literally miss practice. So they'd show up late. They miss warm up. They show up late to warm up for a game and they still get playing time. So there was no
consistency.
Yeah. It's just like if you were talented or whatever, then.
But what I mean is I did see him exercise like power over people. Like, you know what I mean? For the sake of it. I did see him like bench some players like with no good logic. Just because he could. So when we say what I'm getting at here is like, we said he was a good guy, but the evidence suggests based on how he was treating the team that he wasn't a good guy.
I really don't know.
We don't, what I'm saying.
That's true.
Because I frequently have this.
He was nice to me.
That's what I mean. So what I'm saying is I frequently have this in my life where I will say, people tell me that someone's a jerk in the volleyball world. And I'll be like, they were always nice.
Yeah,
but that's because of who I am.
Good point.
That they'll be nice to me, but they won't be nice to people below them. And there is that thing in society where, how you treat people who are quote unquote not on your level, like, or below you, I don't want to say that below you because I don't think they are, but like people talk about, people, there's some people who be so amazing to their boss, but then they'll be like a jerk to the secretary or the custodian and all that garbage.
Actually, see that's a common everyday thing.
And so I'll bet you any money there's a lot of that going on with some of these coaches, right? Because they can't be nice people because they're sort of exhibiting some quality there of like non-humility and, tyrant behavior and childishness that can't be like basically. So when one of the things,
imposter syndrome.
No. I mean, you wish they had it. You wish they had it. You wish they had imposter syndrome because imposter syndrome is someone who's got almost too much humility, right?
Yeah.
This is someone who
actually you wouldn't call it imposter syndrome. You just call it
they deep down feel insecure, but they cover that insecurity up by being a tyrant. So what I call it is honestly like what I'm seeing here. Like so in my daughter's situation, every year of clubbing, and so this is both daughters. Every coach we've had in the club world. This is why we were doing the show because I had no idea how awful it was across the board. And like I said, I still see some good club coaches, and they are out there, but they are so rare. And I think the bulk of them are listening to us and agreeing with us, the good coaches. I think there's some coaches in the middle who think that we're attacking coaches unfairly. Maybe they're the problem, but what I'm telling you right now is there is a childishness with these coaches. They are petty, immature, and they're holding on to power, and the only way they know how.
Because I never understood.
And it's not by research.
Yeah.
It's not by open-mindedness. It's not by let's discuss this and see why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's petty childishness. I'm the boss of this team. And so many coaches. I mean, Karch Karai talks about this. If your answer, he says, if your answer is because I said so, then that's brutal. You're not thinking the game through, and you're not coaching well.
I was never able to understand this coach in particular, their reason for coaching, because it didn't even seem like they enjoyed it, and I wasn't even able to establish a professional relationship with them. Like I don't want favoritism as a player, right? But I want to respect my coach because that way when we work on something and I get better and then I get praise from my coach, I then value it. If there's no connection or respect, then there's no value in praise or whatever, right? But then also that would have been impossible as well because literally there was it was 4 years. The only getting better that happened for me was simply just through reps. And even to that degree, it's not like I got better. I just got more reps and I stayed in shape.
Right.
Like, and yeah, I'm not even sure. If anything, I think my best season was my first season. And then it just kind of went like.
Interesting. Yeah, because morale is a thing, right? Like how you feel as a team. And that's what I see. Like I see teams, and I bet you any money, parents and other coaches listening to this, maybe even the coaches themselves, they see it. They see teams get worse as the season goes on. If that's happening to your team, If the morale is down, if the kids are not having fun, if they're coming home from practice saying, I don't like this, something is off. Because nobody, you know what's universal? Every player wants to get better. And a lot of coaches will hide behind that. They don't want to get better. They don't want to work hard. That's bull crap. Every player wants to get better. And when they're not getting better, they don't have fun. And then when they don't have fun, they want to quit. And so you can't get better if you're not getting playing time. You can't get better if you're not getting.
It was hard, man, that season. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're getting judged and you're getting put in a box,
all 4 seasons. Sorry.
Yeah. So the morale goes down. Players get worse. That's a red flag.
Yeah.
So I mean, like coaches, I don't know if you can defend any of the things we talked about so far in this show. I'm trying to think of.
Well, yeah.
Were there other things that you had happen in your career that you just?
Well, I'd say one thing that I did like of a good thing that from a coach that I thought was doing a good job is actually using physical training in the right way, not as like a punishment, but like giving putting the emphasis on why it's important. Because this is when I was playing when I was 18. We did a lot of like really grueling physical training, but it wasn't done as punishment. Mm-hmm. Like this was preseason. We like go at it really hard. And then even when we were in season, we would always spend 1 day a week just doing like intense stuff of like core sprints, all this stuff. And the reason I bring it up is because at college with that other coach, I felt like I never got better in 4 years. Whereas in 1 year with this other coach, I made astronomical leaps in performance. And it was that's what made me fall in love with the sport of volleyball, is because I was such before university, I was not even that committed to volleyball. Like I loved snowboarding. I loved hockey. I loved other sports. I wasn't even, and I'm still not a super competitive person. Mm-hmm. Like I have buddies who are just so competitive at anything, right? They love sports.
Now, when you say competitive, do you mean that they get angry when they lose, or that they have a quiet will to succeed?
They just love sports, and no, they don't get angry when they lose.
Because a lot of coaches out there, I think a lot of people mistake.
Yeah, that's not what I
get angry when I lose.
As.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the misrepresentation of competitiveness. I think that's a part of this problem too, is that a lot of coaches think that if they get angry and kick chairs, that means they're a very competitive person.
That's not. Yeah, absolutely.
I know you know better.
Okay. Right, and so the reason I bring that up is because I was like kind of shocked when I got recruited for volleyball. To play volleyball at a school. It was amazing. And then I followed through on this. And then I was always like a goofy kid who like just liked the sport because I laughed a lot when I got to play it, right? Yeah. Especially in high school. And then I go to this university, and then like everything is like well laid out. There's structure to it. There's physical training. And then I just got like so good at it in such a short amount of time. And I played like really high level ball, and it was nuts. And then it made me fall in love with beach because it led into beach volleyball. The coaches were beach oriented. Mm-hmm. Then that was another thing I absolutely fell in love with. And so then it just was this really great like 2-year span, right?
Mm-hmm. And in fairness, you are at an age, by the way, like just to take the variables out, like you are at an age where there's going to be a big jump, right? Like if you're
it's 17, 18, age. It was.
It's going to be a huge jump
and
physically.
I was playing with a bunch of veterans.
Yeah.
So like,
and when you played,
I was perfectly set up to have a very aggressive learning curve.
Yeah.
Just by staying there, just by being around.
Right.
It,
but you still could have benefited. Like, even though you were old, how old were you when you were doing your second stint in post-secondary?
The second stint, I started at 27.
27.
The first one was 18.
So yeah, you will see less of a jump there, but
absolutely, right.
But the intensity and the learning and the passion, and there was none of that regimented.
Right.
Like, let's all get better together in the gym, and let's.
Well, and a large part of my success, which I'm just realizing now in hindsight, as my body is starting to. So now that I haven't played in however long, mm-hmm. and I'm now working. And I'm not doing yoga as much. I was just telling you about this earlier. When I went back at 27, I had been doing yoga for 6 years, like straight. Mm-hmm. And then I have a good base of mobility, even though I was like pretty weak because I like went through the vegan thing and whatever.
We don't want to get political.
Well, yeah, I mean, no.
Not that vegans are weak, Eric.
Oh, I guess I associate it. No, it's just, no, I'm not associating that. I'm
sounds
associating.
Like sounds like
yeah, it sounds like I was, but no, I was like 170 pounds and like weak or whatever.
You felt you weren't getting enough protein as a vegan?
Yeah, well then I ended up having a health thing, and then I just found out that like meat works better for me, and I probably wasn't doing veganism properly, right? And so then I made the switch, and that's what actually gave me the confidence to actually go back to school, because I was like, in a weird place mentally, right? Mm-hmm. If anyone's wondering why I took 7-year break off volleyball, like it had to do with mental.
Well, you didn't take
it was like 6. Well, and I played.
You played in leagues and you played a lot. You kept it going.
I at least took a solid 3 years off before I even got back into the league.
You did, yes, you did. I remember because you came to me and you said, "Do you think I'll make a varsity team?" And I was like, "Eric, you'll be the best player in the league."
It was funny.
Yeah.
Right. And so
that's the humility, though. That's good.
I forgot what I was trying to say, but like.
So you were talking about how.
Oh, right. I was just trying to point out how I didn't even realize that base amount of like flexibility that I had been working on and strength in yoga is probably what gave me such a good starting position at 27 going back into varsity. Yeah. Because like now I'm like so immobile, it drives me crazy. But I've been working on it lately, and you know you've been working out, and we always feel so much better when we do.
Yeah,
and
coming back.
I did 2 hours of yoga today, and I felt amazing. But it also shockingly illustrated to me like that I have like a quarter of the mobility I had compared to back then. So that's why we got to keep working.
Well, that's what that's what was missing. The good. So that's actually came up too. That somebody mentioned this in a Facebook group. Like, are there any coaches who really emphasize fitness, sleep, diet, nutrition on tournament days? Because you know, it's not coming. You know, you could argue that a lot of parents don't either, and players need to get that message that it's that we should probably do that on I was thinking about a secret weapon show. Like, you know, if you're a young kid who does those things, wow, look out. But just to take it back to the topic, like the difference between the coaching was that you didn't feel this coach was helping you grow. And you didn't feel this coach was helping you do the little things that maybe they weren't X's and O's, but they sure could have learned about some other things that could really help you, right? And
it served a purpose. Like for me, when I was in school, I always did better mentally if I was able to study and then play sports. Mm-hmm. Like the sports helped my studying, 100%. And then the studying helped me.
And that's a fact. And mental health.
I think, mental
exactly. health. We did that in the mental health episode.
I enjoyed college. I had a team. You know, we had fun together and stuff like that. Yeah.
No, I know. I think I'm just trying to think. So before we wrap this up, for good coaches out there, just so that we are clear here. I don't think that unless you have kids going through the system, you probably might not know what we're talking about. Even Eric probably didn't know. Like even this, I think my stories help you sort of focus in on what you went through. Even in my varsity days, like, you know, when I try to think back, like the big knocks against one of my varsity coaches was I had a couple different varsity post-secondary coaches, and one of them was very buddy with like senior player captain, right? Who was like a little older. He was like 24. Yeah. When I was 17, starting my varsity career, post-secondary career, and I remember that buddiness just really turned me off, and you just felt like you were an outsider. Yeah. And I got to play, and but I was still really put off by that, and it just emboldened. And the captain of our team was very, I wouldn't say, kind of a bully. He was a bully. Our setter was a bully.
You didn't come around until you, in a way, proved yourself, right?
And
it's still, even then, it's even then, right?
And still, I always used to wish, like, you know, when I was 24, I wished that I could have went back and seen my captain to show him how much better I was than he was at 24. You know, because he was 24 and I was 17, right? Yeah. So I just felt like there was a lot of, you know, he just didn't development and understanding.
Well, right, and that captain, he doesn't realize that by having this favoritism, he's curbing his own development in a way, right?
Yeah, it was just kind of weird. Like he was.
If your coach can't push you because you're too close, then.
And also, like, you know, if your coach is close to the guy who you think is a jerk, that's kind of like, oh,
well, yeah,
wonderful, right?
Yeah.
And then my second varsity coach at the second university I played at, she was well known, kind of one of those legends, and. But really, I don't think played the game. Yeah. I don't think played the game.
Definitely didn't play the game.
I don't know. All right,
but
I remember like there's a discussion once about, you know, bending elbows on passing, right? And of course you teach not to bend elbows on passing. But, you know, again, coming as a beach player, sometimes as a beach player, you relax. And I said, I get like super short ball, sniveler, hits the tape, rolls over. You know, you might jay your arms to bring the pass back. And she just looked at me and just said, no, we never bend our arms on passing. I'm like, well, that's physically impossible. I didn't say it, but I was thinking, well, that's physically impossible because you haven't played. that's really, so I have to get my platform.
Get criticized over that.
No, but I mean, I'm just saying that, like, these coaches have been there, but as a player, you kind of brush them off, right? And as a coach, when I became a coach, I had no, like, I might have noticed that a coach had a weakness in their strategy, or like, oh, well, they're not using their right side ever. But so you just think of it in that light. But now as a parent, I'm just seeing like, wow, like it's not just my kids, other teams.
Yeah.
You go to tryouts, you're seeing these coaches do horrible things. And then again, just in the business world, like what we do, and having parents come to our organization, which offers like recreational volleyball, because they can't stand their coach. And it's just nonstop. It's a universal story. And, I know people are complainers today. I know people whine more than ever.
Yeah.
But
there's more.
But part of that unhealthy societal thing is showing itself in coaching. Like, we have to be realistic. We can't just be a coach that says, well, if parents weren't so coddling today, and if kids weren't so wimpy, well, that same society is producing the same problems among coaches.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
they're becoming wimpy.
Yeah.
And if they're wimpy, then they are, looking for that power trip more than ever as well. So good coaches, like, these are the sorts of stories we're talking about. Where if you're a coach that is inclusive, giving kids a chance, having kids understand that they have a shot at playing, that if they improve, they're going to get a chance. They want fairness and they want fun. And if your team is consistently not having fun,
fairness, and it really was, when you talk about your daughter playing, like, answering the question why. Because I remember I just been like, at least I had a good understanding, like, biomechanics. And if for a certain movement, if a coach would explain a movement to me and it worked, like, then I locked it in, and then I can move on to the next thing. But I remember, like, if it didn't work in my mind, I would have such a tough time being able to listen to the coach for anything else. Right. And luckily, again, it was a different time back then. I had a lot of coaches where I had a lot of questions, and they were able to give me, hey, like, try it this way. And then it would work. And then, like, that's what made me addicted to the sport. Right. And so I can totally, like, again, coaches, you got to understand that if you're not able to answer those questions as to why, like, maybe you're not noticing it, but players are going to start checking out. And, like, I was oversensitive to that. Like, so maybe I was a further example of it, but, like,
every player, man, like,
that's what I think. Like,
every player, they'll find out right away.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing your homework, like, as a coach, if you're not working hard, like, you can talk about players not working hard, but if you're not checking out great sources and high-level coaches and high-level players and seeing what they're saying.
Well, and try the movements yourself. The best coach I had was a baseball guy, but, like, He was athletic, and then he could still belt a ball at us, even though he wasn't like. But then we would do movements, like lateral movements or blocking, like, because I was a middle, like, land, get out.
He was watching other players.
Yeah.
He was watching other coaches, and he learned, and he knew. And, he would ask me stuff too, because I was a young coach, and he knew I was right out of playing. And we would talk volleyball a lot. And he had coached for years, and he was observant. That's, if coaches can be observant of what they're seeing, I can't, like, we talked about this. How can you ref for 4 years? 40 years, 40, and not know what you're looking at? How can you coach varsity and be the only guy to, like, teach? Like, that's the other thing. One of our coaches was a former varsity coach. He got fired, but he was not aware. Like, how do you not look at what the other team's doing? Nobody's standing on the attack line.
I know. This one good coach, he knew that, like, again, me starting as a middle, that, like, he's watching me get out there late, but he knows it's possible because he's seen her. He knows it's possible, and he would just say, no, go, just keep going. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, like, halfway through the season, I'm getting a hand out there, right?
It's
and, like,
funny,
and the movement's working. It's
because he raised the bar too, right? He raised the expectation.
Physical development as well. Like, muscles don't grow overnight or whatever, right? And so when I hear you say of this one coach telling these girls they can't hit quicks, it's sexist for sure. But then, like,
or they don't run. Girls don't run the middle. Girls don't run quicks in the middle. But
it's
like,
just not even. It's also just not even having the concept of development, of, like, progression, that you will get there, but you're not going to get instant gratification unless you have something and work at it, and then it's going to feel amazing for you as a coach, and then for the player as well. You guys both have the opportunity.
It's not instant gratification. That's the thing.
I think
it's a process. We want instant gratification, but it's not. It's a process, and that's why coaches are also having a hard time. We live in an instant gratification world, and they think that they don't understand process.
This is a big part of it. Yeah.
They don't understand process, and what you said was very important because when you raised that coach for you. Raised the bar for you.
Yeah, he said, gave me a target.
He said, "You don't believe in yourself. Yeah, I believe that you'll get out there."
Exactly.
So then he raised the bar, and you reached it. Whereas these coaches, they lower the bar because they're like, "This team can't." You know how many times I've worked clinics with teams,
good point.
And the coaches say to me, "Oh, Zuby, they're not strong enough to do it. Zuby, they can't do that." I'm like, "They will." And when I tell players that they'll do it, you should see the fire in their eyes. When I tell players, I want you to attack the serve. I want you to find the seam. I want you to serve as hard as possible. I want you to get that team in trouble. If you think you're late for that block, I don't care. I want you to go.
You're putting power in their heart or something.
And their eyes, they all start nodding, and they all look like Rocky, and they're like, yeah, and they believe it. So that's what I meant by if a player believes that you don't believe in them, right? That means you're going to bench them. That means you're going to punish them when they ask good questions. That means you're going to, try to win the medal for you. And who cares if that 14-year-old kid gets to play? Yeah. We're going for gold here, 14-year-old gold medal. Like, it's craziness. And it's all so separate. If you're a coach who worries about, ask yourself this, okay? If we're going to be productive here, if you're a coach listening to this, are you in this for you? Are your decisions about you, right? Or is your decision, whatever you're deciding, is this going to make this player better? That's it. Or is this going to make my power stronger? Is this going to show them who's in charge and who's boss? Or is this going to show them that I care about each and every one of them getting better? That's it. And if you're a good coach, you'll think about I forget which one I said first, but you'll think about the one that thinks about the player and the team culture. If you're a bad coach, you're going to worry about your power. Yeah. And you're going to worry about authority. And you're going to find yourself, that's a battle you won't win. You'll be running around all day punishing players. And then half your team will quit on you, or they'll quit the sport, or they'll hate your guts, and they'll stick around.
Because in the right one, as that coach, you have the opportunity for every one of these players to live their like fantasy hero movie story, or where they think they're the hero, they are the hero, but in every movie we love where there's a hero, there's a progression story of struggle and where they work hard and then they get there, right? And then
the dream season.
It's like the opportunity is there.
Yeah. Everybody feels included.
Yeah.
Everybody has a role.
And then they feel unreal at the end of it, right?
And there's so many coaches getting trapped in the other movie where they think that coaching, I think there's a lot of coaches who genuinely believe that coaching is this animosity, because that's what our pro sports show us, right?
Yeah.
My coach is a hard ass. I'm going to punish that player.
It's so funny.
They're busy pretending they're pros. It goes back to that coaching stance too, right? They're pretending like they see it on TV that there's a relationship problem with the coach. The coach is going to punish these soft professional athletes, right? That's in our culture a lot. And I think a lot of these youth coaches bring that to these soft players. I'm going to punish them. But then it gets into like, you got to know your depth here, right?
But then that means there's one thing, but it's being perceived in one way or this other way.
Yes.
Why is there duality going on here?
Well, because everybody's living their own story, right? Like I'm trapped in my movie. You're trapped in your movie. Everybody's trapped in their own little movie. And it's very difficult. We talked about this with cars on the highway. How everybody's sitting in those cars in the traffic jam,
filling their own needs,
or they're just living their own life. Like that person in that car. You look at the next time you're sitting in traffic, look at a million cars sitting out there. Everybody in one of those cars. It's a weird concept, but they're all the star of their own movie, and they don't care about you.
Just like how you are in that moment.
Yeah. So we're all fulfilling psychological needs. That's how we parent. That's how we coach. That's how we play, right? And that's why I said to you about like your psychological need hasn't brought you to coaching, because you don't need that authority boost yet, or maybe not now.
And the hero story of the player is a psychological opportunity for them.
Yeah, we all just
want to give it to them.
All we do all day, every day, is we just fulfill psychological needs.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're doing this podcast because of some psychological need. We genuinely don't want fame, but we feel like we
want Porsches.
We want Porsches.
We're going to keep bringing that up.
We want people to see us driving around in really fancy cars, right? right? No, but psychological need. So that's why the coach it's a very difficult problem to solve, but it sure helps because there is a big chunk of people I think on the cusp, right? There's young coaches listening who might catch themselves getting a little too wound up in the every point thing and a little too wrapped up. I'm hoping.
No, I like this.
That's what you hope to catch is the people on the bubble.
Yeah.
There are people on the other side of that. And I saw this in the school system.
Who have the courage to step into coaching.
Yeah.
It's
a good thing to do as long as you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I hope that when coaches are going into the game, they're thinking about, can I make these players better people and better players? If you focus on making everybody a better person, I'll guarantee you they'll be a better player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, if our coaches and, when we were young, coaching people too, the idea is to focus on positivity, inclusiveness, fun, joy, passion. That's what you want. If you want a young player to feel passionate and love this game, by the time they're 18, they want to be addicted to volleyball. They should be having fun. They shouldn't be sitting on the bench crying their eyes out because they're not playing. Now, again, some of that can be unwarranted. There's kids that maybe deserve some bench time, or maybe they missed a bunch of practices, and maybe they're just crying because they think they want more court time, or maybe they're crying because the coach is too fair. that happens too, right? Where you get parents who are like the parents are like these coaches we're talking about, where they're like they get pissed off at coaches who play people equally, fairly, right? There's that side of it, and we'll do a show on that, But but if the coach can start, like we talked about this, the dangerous parent or the toxic parent is far less damaging to the game than the toxic coach, because the toxic parent will be in there a couple of years and they're gone. The toxic coach can stay there for 30 years and ruin a lot of kids.
Well, what we're saying is there is a clear psychological link between the coach and the player, and the state of their psychology, and then being transferred onto the kids playing, right? So if the coach is in it for themselves, how is it in that situation? How is it possible that the kids are going to come out better if it's
about the coach?
If it's just about the coach winning, if they have a need to to share what they know about the game, that's different, right? If they're there because they've played it for years and now they feel like they want to give back, then.
Or I met a coach just the other day who was with us at the scrimmage when I was doing that session with the team. And, it was awesome. He was like, he loves to see kids coach. His daughter had played, and he loved working with kids, and he loved seeing them get it. And he was so passionate. He's like, he loves learning. He would ask me a million questions, and he would he just loves you see the energy, and his team was phenomenal. They were laughing, having a blast.
Yeah.
And he's not an X's and O's guy, but he's open and he's learning. And I said, you know what? You're going to be an amazing coach. And he was so flattered that I said that to him. And I was like, no, because you got such an energy about you, and you want to learn. You're curious, and you're out here for every one of these kids. You can see it, He even he wanted to book an extra practice. This is why he was at our scrimmage, because he wanted to book an extra practice because they're and then they found out the other gym wasn't available. And I said, well, just join ours, right? Again, I wasn't ego driven with my team. I said, yeah, join our practice. And then I saw him do his warm up, and I watched our team, it wasn't my team, but I was helping with that practice. Our team doing this lackadaisical, no energy warm up because of who their coach is, and his team was lighting the gym on fire, laughing their butts off, and he's yelling out things, and they're doing crunches.
Dude, that's intimidating when you're warming up against a team that's having fun. It's
and they were just a year younger, so it wasn't like they were 2 or 3 age groups younger. And it was no, but it's just the energy of the coach, right? And we understand
it's
people
so easily transfers.
People bring different energies, and I get that. I'm not saying you don't have to be a rah guy, but but his passion for learning the game, and his passion, his focus on the player experience, right, makes him a better coach. So I think if we could end this in one way, we would just say, if you focus on every player on that team having a blast, then you're going to be one of the good coaches. Yeah. If you make sure that all those players 1 through 12 or 1 through 10, however many you have on that team, 1 to 14, you make sure that they had a blast at the end of the year, and that none of them hate the game, and they would all play for you again, then you're one of those great coaches, because you have transferred the focus from yourself onto them. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that's why, we're going to get Porsches. Yeah. We want those Porsches.
911s would be great.
But that's insecurity.
You're more of a Cayenne guy.
Why'd you say that I'm not a, what? Were you uncomfortable? Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. On that
you made
note,
such a great point, and now it's
I think there was a little bit. I'm not going to say.
What?
You didn't notice? You didn't notice?
What, kayak?
Well, you mentioned 9/11, and then you said,
"No, shut up."
I'm just saying.
Turn that off right now.
I'm a brown man.
What's the big idea?